All right, welcome to the first inaugural edition of Loyalty Talks. I'm your co-host, Ralph. I'm with my new co-host, one of my really good friends that just embarked on this new business where she really takes her passion and combines it with a lot of her people skills and dog skills. And I'm really honored to be embarking on this new endeavor and this new podcast. And she's the owner and founder, creator of Loyalty Walks. But this is called Loyalty Talks, where we talk about animals far and wide and things that have affected me deeply. But my co-host in this is Stephanie Marth. How are you?
Hi. How are you doing?
Did you like that intro?
I did. It sounded great.
Yeah. So one of my best friends in the whole wide world, John Gooch. This is his girlfriend, wife, fiance. Well, one of those.
I know.
All
We've
the
been
above.
together so long. It's
Domestic
10 years
partner.
now. Yeah. It pretty much is.
But you know, I spent a lot of time with you last Friday, and I just laid out a couple of things. I think I was talking like a million miles.
You were.
But you liked it.
I did.
All right.
Surprisingly, it all stuck in my head.
That's good.
Like,
So
wow.
that means it was something. So, you know, I'm really excited to speak to you. And this is really just about your love of animals and dogs. And of course, this is probably going to be a therapy session for me because at one point in time, I was a dog lover. And maybe you'll make me one.
I hope so. I mean, when we used to work out together and you would come over and my cats would be like bouncing off the walls, I'm like, he's not petting them. Like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah,
Does he like animals?
I do like animals.
But then I would see glimpses of you like sneak off and like go pet him when I wasn't watching. And I was like, oh, okay, he loves them. He just doesn't want to talk about it.
Were you surprised of how I was like kind of off-putting with animals, but still like, oh, wow, there's glimpses? Because that's not normal. It's either like one or the other.
Yeah, I guess it was a little surprising because I feel like animal lovers, when they come into a room and there's a dog, they're like, oh my God, you have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're rolling on the floor with my dog, loving him. And like you would walk in and be like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't scared at least.
Yeah, no, you weren't like mean to my animals by any means. But
So Loyalty Walks has been something that has really spruced up from the pandemic. I wanted to go all the way back with your just affinity towards animals. How did that start?
oh my God, since I was like really little, my dad brought home every animal when we were younger. I have two siblings, so there's three of us all together. And I honestly really am happy he did because I learned so much growing up, just responsibility wise. Having an animal, you know, you're taking care of a life. But we had hamsters, and when we had hamsters, we had like 20 of them. When we had rabbits, we had like a lot of rabbits. But we never had a dog. He would never bring home a dog. And I think it was because he thought it was too much responsibility. So every Christmas I would be like, a puppy. That's all I wanted. And he would like, you know, throw a stuffed animal in a box and be like, there's a puppy in there. And I'd open it like, this isn't a real puppy. And just after that, I was like obsessed with dogs. I just knew one day when I had my own place, I was going to have a dog. And that's exactly what I did.
Hold on. So your dad thought it was too much of a responsibility to have one dog.
But we had
it's okay
like
to have
30
20
rabbits.
hamsters.
I know. Honestly, I think about it now, dogs are a lot more responsibility. They're like children. They really are. They're not so independent. They really crave your attention, and you got to get up, you got to feed them, you got to walk them. They want to be with you. It's different. You have a cat, and I love my cats, but you know,
Cats seem like Destiny's Child. They seem like Beyonce. Like I'm already past the Destiny's Child portion. I'm ready to have my solo career. And, you know, you just put me in the corner and I'm just going to have my concert.
They definitely, you know, they like attention too, but when they want the attention, dogs are kind of just in your face, like, give me attention constantly.
So I'll just talk about my affinity towards pets in general.
Yeah.
So I'm an only child, so I never had any siblings, but I had this beautiful, I don't even know what kind of dog it was. I'll show you a picture. Maybe you can identify what it is, but his name was Bobby, and he was just he was my boy. And of course I had a next door neighbor. His name was Ralph as well, Poopy. And he would always go, oh, I hate that dog. And that dog would just always be there. And I remember he would like pee on a cracker and he would make him eat it. And it was like always like so inhumane, but he was like my boy. Like Bobby was my boy. He was there from when I was a kid all the way out to I remember. My dad, for some reason, he liked parrots too.
Okay.
But he liked the parrots that would like imitate things.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I always am like imitating people because.
You thought you were a parrot when you were a kid?
No, it's just we would watch a movie and like we'd watch Coming to America and it would literally mimic Eddie Murphy in the scene. I would go, okay, well I can do that too. So I would always like competitively do that. And that's just, I guess, somebody that was born in the 80s, that's an only child. Well, anyway, this dog meant the world to me. And I had these two cousins, and one was from New Hyde Park. The other one was coming from the Philippines. And they see, Filipinos, this is what they like to do. They like to say, oh, you live in America. We will stay here for 8 months and we will just be there. So we go to Florida and we're on a summer vacation. I'm around same age as my son now, who's around 7. So I was 86. So I was around 6 years old, 5 years old. And I went to Disney, and my two cousins ended up just watching my dog, and think of anything. And at the time there was no cell phone, so you're not really like checking up. You can't,
but you're also like, I'm leaving it with a family member,
yeah,
so I feel safe.
Right. And it's one of those things where you just think everything is so normal that, okay, I trust it. I'm not going to think of it. I come back, and they both bum rushed me, and they said, we're so sorry. And I'm like, sorry for what? Well, like, we lost your dog. And I'm like, you didn't lose my dog. Come on, that's because they're always joking around.
Yeah.
They lost my dog.
Oh my.
They lost my dog. And at the time, we didn't really have the fence. But see, my dog didn't really move around. He wasn't like, oh my God, there's open space, I'm out. It was like a very methodical, I'm chilling out type of dog. And I had a big backyard. So it wasn't like, let's go. It's kind of similar to how your backyard is kind of configured, but we didn't have a fence.
Okay.
So I don't know when they lost
Was he
it.
used to being on a leash, or you had him off?
No, we didn't have a leash, but at
wow.
the same time, we were very comfortable with the dog. It wasn't like a thing
he
where.
kind of knew you, where
Right.
he was like, I trust you. I'm going
Right.
to stay by you. I love you.
So I'm assuming that that's what my parents said, that you don't have to worry about him. He's not going to go deviate. But then he
And
deviated.
he did, because he was like, I don't really know you guys. See you later.
Right. And that just goes to show how smart dogs are, right? So they're probably like, oh, these are intruders. They're in my owner's house and I'm out. So when I come back, and when it finally like registered in my head that my dog is gone, I remember I live kind of like where a cul-de-sac is, and then there's like it hooks around, and I never saw my dog.
Did you go knocking on doors?
No,
looking for
I
him?
just kept running around like, Bobby,
Oh,
where
my
is he, Bobby? And then
goodness.
I just remember, and I use this term very in just holy terms, because anguish, right? Anguish is when you're sad and you're not going to get it back. It's a finality. Like you feel like this is it and you're never going to get it back. And I remember my mom would be like, it's okay. My mom was always like that. It's okay. We'll just get you a new one. I'm like, it's not going to be the same. And of course, it's not going to be the same. We ended up getting a miniature pincher. And since we just left Disney and it was a female, we ended up naming it Minnie Mouse.
Okay.
So, but my dad and my mom, since they're off the boat from the Philippines, they called it Meanie. So like it was like spelled Minnie, but we called her Meanie.
Okay.
So I'm like, and my dad would go, Ming, 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 Ming. So my next door neighbor were like, you'll get Ming Ming. Like he would make fun of my dad. So it was just like another embarrassing episode of all that.
My
And I had a lot of resentment towards that dog for the longest time. But I ended up having that dog until I was
that
19.
resentment towards her, was that because you felt like she was replacing Bobby?
I mean, I don't think
In
I
a
felt
sense,
it
she
was.
was, but I mean, not in your heart.
Yeah. So, I had a deep infinity for that dog too. And then we had another dog named Spider, whose breath smelled like a mix of like dog food and also like dirt, because he just would always be outside and
Eating dirt.
he was super aggressive, would always yell. I mean, to the point where I would always wake up at 5 o'clock because he just was off the hook. And Minnie was like so much more calm, kind of like Bobby, but still like faster. But we had a fence and all that. But I think what really happened was when Minnie died and then Spider was left, and Spider got really old, and then he started having cataracts, and then he had a whole issue. But then I had another dog that I'm sure John remembers. I had like Swiss and Boom. Those were all teacup Yorkies that I had. But they would just pee on the rug all the time. And I was already kind of like devolved from the whole situation. But my dad would go, you clean it up. And I'm like, nah, train the dog. But see, like now I just have like super resentment, because I feel as though sometimes like when you're a kid and you're in the situation, they feel like they can just buy you a new dog and it's all good. Like I already had resentment from the 2 dogs ago.
Yeah.
So they ended up breeding, and I guess my dad was trying to sell them. And then we lost one of the offspring, Boomer, to it was like right before Hurricane Katrina. And once that dog was gone, we lost one in the hurricane. And then after that, I was just like, I'm done. I'm
Oh
not.
Goodness.
And to me, it was like, if this is what it feels like when you lose a family member, because I was completely devastated by
Of
losing all
course.
these dogs.
And these were kind of your family members. You're an only child.
Yeah,
So
I just wanted to suppress the emotion, so I just was not about it. And the parrots just live forever. I think
they
they're
do. They live
Yeah.
crazy long. Some of them live over 100. It's wild, right?
So, what was your first pet like? What like your first pet that
Like
you
my
really?
first actual pet that I
Yeah.
really loved. His name was Randy, and he was a bunny, but he was a bunny with like the big floppy long ears, and he was all like sand color, and he had this one little patch of brown over his eye, and I loved that rabbit. Like it was like my sibling. You know, my brother and sister were so much older than I was, off doing things that I wasn't even capable of doing yet. So I was left alone a lot, playing by myself. So when I had Randy, I was like, oh my God, I love this rabbit. You know, he slept in the bed with me. Like he did everything with me. The rabbit wasn't normal. He was like a dog. So I was like, oh yeah, I got something that's like a dog. I don't have a dog, but I have him. And he lived for probably like 6 years before he passed away. I'll never forget. We had him in a hutch outside. My dad built it. And it was starting to get cold and he was getting older and he was really sick. And my dad, this is the first time I saw my dad really like, I knew he loved animals, but he always kind of sat back and let me do all the work. So I was like, does he really like animals or does he just know that I love them so much he's getting them for me? And he took that rabbit in the house and he laid it on his pillow and like was feeding it water through like an eyedropper and taking care of this rabbit. And I'll never forget the look on my dad's face when that rabbit passed away. I mean, he was crying. And I was like, oh my God, he really did love him just as much as I did. And after that, I didn't want any more rabbits. I was just done with
So same
rabbits because
thing.
it was a heartbreak
Right,
for
right,
me. And
How old were you?
7.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the first animal that passed away that I saw. And I was so devastated by it.
When did you get your first dog?
Oh, my first dog. Actually, technically he was my first dog and he was a boxer. His name was Pork Chop. I got him through a friend. He was a year old. This dog was already trained. He walked by her side. He knew how to heel. He was just amazing, amazing dog. But she just had 2 little kids, 2 twins, and it was just too much for her. So she gave it to a friend of mine, and his apartment was too small. At the time, I was living with 4 girls in Bayshore in a big, big house. We had a huge backyard.
I think I went to that house, right?
Yes, you did. I don't think you got to meet Pork Chop because I only had Pork Chop for a few months, and he tried to eat my cat Joey, and I was like, oh, maybe this isn't a good fit for Pork Chop. So I ended up finding a family with a huge backyard. They were all set. Their kids were older, and they were just looking for a nice family dog. And they ended up taking him in, and he's still alive. He's actually still alive, which is kind of shocking. I think he's like 17 right now.
Wait,
And
you don't have possession of this?
I don't
said
have
dog?
No. I gave him up, and it sucked. But I knew he needed a better life. I thought I was going to give him the best life ever, but I felt in that situation he was constantly attacking my cat. His prey drive was really high, and I couldn't fix it, and I didn't want anything to happen to my cat, so I rehomed him, which sucked. And then my second dog, I ended up getting, me and John were on our break, and I ended up getting in another relationship, and I got my new, significant other a dog for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I fell in love with this dog. I trained this dog. This dog was with me all the time. And in the end of our separation, he ended up keeping the dog. And I was like, oh my God. I was almost like at a point where I was like, maybe I'm not supposed to have a dog because every dog I get, I can't keep.
Maybe you're not supposed to have a relationship. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you should be with the dog.
Well, I learned I'm never going to buy somebody else an animal. Or I'm going to get a prenup beforehand.
Yeah, you got to. That's what I was saying. We got to make like dog
That
prenups.
was just awful.
Yeah.
That was just an awful feeling. I was like, it's not like my dog passed away. Like my dog is still alive, but in somebody else's possession. And then, that brings me to getting Coda. And he's going to turn 2 this Monday. And I love this dog. Oh my God. He is just the best. But I think I love him so much because no one's taking him away from me.
Right. He's a beautiful dog, first of all. The only beef that I have with him is that he always parks up like in front of your front door. So it just doesn't allow for other people to come in. And I'm like, bro, why are you always right here?
I know. He gets so excited when people come over. He's an animal lover and he's a people lover. And so when he knows people are coming in, he's just parked in front of the front because he's like, everyone's coming in. I can't wait to see them. He's good though. If you open the door and he runs past you, he's going to come right back. He never leaves. That's how much love he has for people wherever they are, he wants to be. So I never get scared of him running off. So I always say, if he's crowding the door, just keep it open. It's fine. He might run past you. He's going to run right behind you and come back in.
So I want to go back to one of the things that I was talking about where, obviously I haven't owned a pet as an adult. I remember when I was a kid, and of course I wasn't the person that was the guardian of the dog. My parents were. But, looking back, I don't know what I would do in that situation if I was on vacation. Would I bring him? Would I not bring him? Because there has been times where I've seen people go on vacation and they have that little like box where they put the dog. Just in that situation now, who watches your pets when you're on vacation? So like, let's say hypothetically speaking, outside the age of coronavirus, you're going on to a trip in Hawaii for 2 weeks. Are you bringing Coda with you?
No. And I wish that I could because I'd bring him anywhere. But yeah, obviously we'd get a pet sitter, which is kind of what I do. My business is predominantly walking dogs and pet sitting. I just wouldn't put him in a kennel. He's never been caged. He's never been crated. I don't think it would be a good environment for him. If I'm going on vacation, I kind of want my dog to be on a vacation, but at home and happy with somebody else, somebody that I trust to either stay at my home or somewhere that I can drop him off. The last time we went on vacation was we went to Cancun, and I dropped him off at a lady's house in Elmont. She had, a pack of her own dogs. She had 2 Huskies, 2 Dobermans, and 2 like little Chihuahuas. So we did a meet and greet. He ran around the backyard. He had a blast. He didn't even know that I was like leaving him.
Oh,
and
so that's what you do. You just kind of go, oh, we're playing. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you coming back?
What's funny though is she sent me so many videos and pictures, and I really appreciated it. And it didn't look like he really cared that I was gone. I mean, even when I came back, I was like, oh, he's going to give me like this big welcome. He was like, wait, who are you? I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
Did you forget about me? But he was so young at that time. And now, I don't know. He's so bonded to me now. I think he would kind of know if I left him.
Dogs love Cancun too. Just to FYI. I think.
I think they would. I mean, I've traveled other places, in the United States where I can drive, and I brought Coda places. I mean, he loves adventures. He loves hiking.
You brought him to Lake George over the summer, though, no?
Oh, we did. Yeah. He had a blast. He was, my friend's got a really nice house up there. He's got a boat. We took him out on the boat. I didn't think he was going to jump in the water. We did have to coax him, and I kind of had to get in the water and then like ask him to come, and he followed. But I mean, after that, he was just like jumping in that water, in and out, having a blast. Everybody on their boats were like watching him, like in awe, like, look at him go. He was doing that hard doggy paddle.
Yeah. So speaking of jumping into the water, I think that this podcast thing, when I first told you about it, I remember just watching your face and saying like, I don't know if she's going to go for this. But I'm thinking like all those times when I stopped by the now defunct Fatty Malone's.
Oh, yeah.
Where I just remember I would come and visit you, and it'd be like, hold on, I got to talk to other people for 40 minutes. And you would do your thing. You would meet this person, then you would talk to that person. I'm like, you'd be the perfect person, especially if we're talking about dogs and animals. It's like, this is like a perfect marriage of your skill set. But, I wanted to go back to, just even talking about this. We're taping the day after, I think it's Black Friday, right? The day after Thanksgiving. When you started, you were bartending at the time, and I think a lot of people identify you as Steph as the bartender at Croxley's or wherever you were working.
That's everywhere I go. It's Steph. You're still bartending? No.
Yeah, so they're probably like, what? You're not bartending anymore?
I started when I was 18.
Right.
I'm 34 now, and I just, stopped bartending right before COVID.
Yeah. So let's go back to, how did you get into the dog walking business, and then also just having the motivation, desire to start your own thing?
Well, obviously, I've always loved animals. I've always had a passion for animals. So, growing up, any jobs that I had, I always had like a side job where I was working with animals, whether it was at a horse barn and working with horses, or I'd, always like volunteer at the shelters just to walk dogs, that was no money at the time. I was just doing that because I just...
Out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah, pretty much that. And I was like, oh, I get to play with dogs all day. Like, why not? Like, spend a few hours doing that. I'm not doing anything else. And then I worked at a veterinary clinic in Westbury on Cantiac Rock Road, and I was there for 3-4 years. I learned so much there. And I didn't have my license, but I was pretty much a trained vet technician. And after that, it was pretty much when I left there, anytime I had, I was bartending, I had a side job with animals just because I loved to be around them.
Right.
I didn't want to forget that.
Yeah.
And then I moved to North Carolina for a little bit. When I say a very little bit, I was there for like a month. So it was like a long vacation. And I came back. My family lives there. So I came back and my friend, her sister had started a dog walking company that exploded. And she was like, hey, you want to, walk some dogs? I said, yeah, actually I do. I'd like to get away from the bar scene. So I started doing that and I learned a lot from her business. And I realized I'm like, I could be doing this.
Mm.
I know so many people that have dogs. I could be doing this on the side. But I never, I would do it here and there after I left her company because I made so many friends there and so many people trusted me after I left there. But, I didn't want to break a code of, I'm taking her clients away. So I told them, I was like, if you need me for pet sitting, I'll do pet sitting. But when it comes to dog walks, you're going to have to use her company. I don't want to do anything like that. I don't want to take anybody's people away. So 2 years passed by. I was still bartending. I'm like, why am I still doing this?
Yeah.
And, then COVID was hitting and the bar was starting to close down. And I was like, yeah, I think it's time for me to just take the plunge and be done with this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just was like, let's go for it. I was like, let me start my little Facebook page. Then I was like, oh, let me start my web page, and then I just kind of started telling everybody about what I was doing. And I started getting more clients and I honestly couldn't believe it. But it's all through word of mouth, which, is kind of a blessing. Because I haven't put up flyers like, hey, I'm a dog walker. I don't really.
I know. And then looking behind you now.
I know.
First of all, shout out to Geo Studios, man. This place is like just A1.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy that you like it. And like
I know. I walked in. I'm like, oh, Loyalty Talks all over the place.
No,
posters.
she was like, where's Ralph bringing me to a cardboard box? Is
Ralph,
there a warehouse that you're
I
bringing?
love you, but you really never know with you. You really never know.
It's so true. So I'm always like very vague with things. So I'm like, yeah, come here. Just here's the address. And then what am I getting myself
I'm like
into?
rolling down a dark alley.
No,
Like,
come on. I would never do that.
that.
However, Fatty Malone's right now. Did you see what it is now? Rico's?
It's a pizza place.
Have you had it?
No, I heard the pizza's pretty good though.
You should try the hot oil pizza. It's really good.
Oh, okay. Maybe
Yeah.
I will.
It's going to be weird when you go in there because you're going to be like, yeah, I used to bartend right there. Now
Right
it's C3.
Exactly.
It's going to be so weird.
That was 10 years of my life. I say 10 years of a life sentence that I spent there.
Yeah.
I'm really crazy times.
Well, let's go back to that coronavirus when you finally decided to make that leap of faith and probably for all intents and purposes, you realized like you had to make that jump because of this necessity of like, Governor Cuomo was saying nothing's opening up and you're probably like, what the hell am I going to do?
Exactly.
So first I wanted to go with like those first moments of like trying to get people and then I guess your roadblocks and success. And also, do you think that, what would have been the breaking point had COVID not happened for you to open up Loyalty Walks?
I don't know. That's a really good question because I don't know. Part of me thinks I could just still be bartending. But, John's always been a number one supporter of mine and he always pushes me towards the things that he knows that I love. And he was constantly always there like, come on, Steph, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you might have to take a hit with the money because I made great money. It was cash in your pocket. He's like, but I'm here to support you. So knowing that I had that and then COVID hit, I was like, all right, I'll do it. I think eventually I would have gotten there, maybe not as soon as I am now.
Yeah.
I felt like I really had no other choice but to do it.
Right. Well, I think also at the same time, just like when we had that conversation on Friday, I think now you're more open to be open because if we had this during coronavirus, I wouldn't say that you're the most conservative person, but you're like, I don't know if I'm ready. But now you're just like, let's do it. Let's try it.
Oh, yeah. At this point, there's nothing. I mean, what is this hurting?
No, it's not.
It's kind of like when you're coming over to the house anyways and we have conversations.
Yeah.
So I was like, why not? This will be fun.
Well, we don't really have any conversations anymore because you just have like 15 dogs.
I know. I'm like in and
you.
out or I have dogs in the house. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, don't go eating that. I'm not yelling at them, but correcting them. Because I deal with a lot of dogs that have behavioral issues, which is another skill set that I like to have because people, not only am I walking their dogs, I'm training their dogs while doing it, which I think is really awesome. And I always said when I worked for this company, she sent me to these houses and I was like, this dog is horrible. I'm walking this dog. He's pulling me down the block. Like I got 2 of them. I remember I'm walking 2, Mastiffs and they're like easily 100 something pounds each. And they're pulling me down the block. And I was like, there should be a point where we're either like training these dogs, because I understand people have 9 to 5s and it's really hard to get the training done. And any training sessions I've ever seen has been, you got to take time on a Saturday or whatever and bring your dog to a place for a trainer to get them in check. And I was like, why can't we be doing this while I'm walking them?
Yeah.
Why can't
So
I be training them?
even if I'm like desensitized from dogs myself, I still go to my friend's house and they're like, don't do that. And I'm like, bro, you need to get that dog trained. Like, why even? I don't even feel like it's like a happy thing to have a dog. It's like you have the dog to just have the dog.
At them. I get it. Sometimes they get frustrating. It's just like a kid, you get frustrated.
I've never seen you frustrated with dogs.
I guess I have a different approach to it. Coda can really push my buttons sometimes, but yeah, you got to have a different approach. But everybody does. There's trainers out there that'll be like, you have to have a stern, loud voice, or you just train them with the treats or whatever it is. I think my approach is, I try and look at it from the dog's point of view as much as possible. That might sound crazy, but it seems to work. Coda, everyone asks me, oh, did you bring him to a trainer? I'm like, no, I just, time and dedication, this dog by my side. And that's what I do with every other dog that I have. I take him as, this is my dog.
Right.
And that's how I treat them.
And then time dedication, that is so appropriate that you said that, because you've named your walking business, Loyalty Walks. Why did you name that? How did you come up with that?
Loyalty Walks was because, they always say dogs are so loyal to us. And I wanted to make a company that was basically, we're loyal to your dog. We're loyal to your dog's needs, what they, like, honestly, they need to be out there walking and having fun. Like, I hate when I see somebody, who's working a 9 to 5 and the dog's crated all day. And then they wonder why when they take the dog out of the crate, he's running around doing a million zoomies, being crazy, and ripping things up. It's because they need mental stimulation. They need to be outside. They need to be running and playing. They need to be socializing with other dogs. That's just how they learn. And that's how you learn to get a better dog. So for me, I'm loyal to the dogs and what they need.
So speaking of, I know that people have different viewpoints with dogs. I know for me, when I lost my dog, I realized how much of a family member it was to me. It was more than just a dog. Do you think that for all the dogs that you've owned, all of this, especially including Coda, do you think you consider them a family member?
Oh my God, most definitely. Coda is my child. If I don't know if I'll ever have kids, so he might be the closest thing to it. And he's like my child. He is. I don't necessarily, treat him like he's a human, but I do things here and there. Like I dress him up for Halloween and people are like, yeah. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, he's good. He gets a million treats. He wasn't upset about it. He was in it for 5 minutes to take some pictures, but no, I treat him like a dog should be treated, with love and kindness.
Is there a distinct difference between shopping for a dog and adopting with a dog? I know that's like there's a schism in the school of thoughts.
Yeah, there is. That say adopt, don't shop, because there's just so many dogs in the shelters, which, I have to say, because of COVID, shelters were like emptying out, like no one's business. I mean, people were trying to get dogs and couldn't because the shelters were just empty. That's how many people got dogs, which is awesome news, because I hate to see dogs in a shelter. It's nowhere any dog should be. I just hope that those people that, adopted those dogs realize the responsibility that they take on. Because when you adopt an animal or you buy an animal, you're taking on a responsibility that you might have this dog 15 to 20 years, and it's a lot. It's vet bills when they get sick, when they get older. And I don't think a lot of people realize that responsibility, and they get them when they're puppies, and then they're like, oh, I'm over it. So a lot of people are like, adopt, because why are we buying animals when there's so many animals in the shelter? But you can also go to a really reputable breeder that, isn't a puppy mill and does the right thing, and, they're breeding really great dogs. So I'm kind of on the fence between the two things, but you'll get a lot of people that'll be like, absolutely not.
Right.
I just think
you just love dogs, though.
Yeah, I do. But I'm saying, if you're going to adopt, make sure you go to a shelter that's really about the dogs. If you're going to go to a breeder, make sure you research the breeder and they're doing the right thing.
Right.
Bottom line.
Yeah. So when dogs are in that situation with the adopting, sometimes it's tethered to a situation that somebody's in. And of course, you were in a situation where you were in a relationship and then didn't work out. And now the dog is between you two because both of you own it. So how does that all work out? Because I've never been in a situation where I'm like, damn, I'm in my 20s. I broke up with somebody, but we bought a dog together. And it's like, do I leave the dog?
It
Do
is
I
a
keep the
really
dog?
hard thing to do and kind of digest. And it took me a really long time to figure out what I was going to do. Obviously, we were not working and we also didn't want to really see each other. So there would be times he would pick and be like, you can come to the house, pick him up and take him out for the day. I'm like, okay, great. So I was doing that for a while, but I realized it was really hurting the dog. He was very, very close to me. And so I was playing volleyball at the time. So I bring him down to my volleyball games and my team would like take care of him when we would switch on and off. And they were like, this dog loves you. I mean, you're out there and his eyes are just on you. And he was awesome because he could be off leash anywhere and he wasn't going anywhere. He was a Labrador and he was just the best. But I realized, when it came down to it, we couldn't keep doing that. And it probably wasn't healthy for us either because then there were times where I would see him and I'm like, if we're really going to separate, we're going to have to make the decision. Someone's keeping him. And I'm not the person that's going to take you to court over an animal. I mean, there's people out there and I'm not saying anything bad about it. You do what you want to do. My decision was I'm going to leave him here. I know he's in a good home and I'm going to hope for the best. And, I have a chain of him with his face on it that I wear from time to time. And I've got pictures of him still. And I know he's in good hands. So
You could also get a tattoo that says sugar on your stomach if you ever decide to one day. But that's an inside joke. What do you think is the best part of owning a dog? I know you have so many different things of that you love, but listen, anyone that meets Steph, anyone that has their dog walked by her, I'm very certain, even if you're like me, who's very desensitized to dogs, you could just feel the passion of how much you really love these animals. What's the best part of owning a dog?
Oh, best part of owning a dog. Oh my God, do they keep you active? When I want to be tired, I just can't be, especially because I have a Siberian Husky and he's just, the energy is endless. But, I got him at a time where I was in a really bad place. And he just pulled me out of it. And I have to say, I think that's the best thing about owning a dog is that energy that they bring and that love that they give. I mean, just like looking at you, you go, how can I be upset? Like I need to pull myself out of this hump and like take care of this little life. And I think that's the best part of having a dog. And, maybe the silence. I just sit there and like I'll be on my route and Coda's my co-pilot every day. So he comes out on my route and he walks with the other dogs. And like I'll be in the car like having a conversation with him. And I swear that he looks at me like, okay, Mom, I know what you're talking about. But he doesn't say anything back. Or if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, Coda, I'm really having a shitty day today, He just sits there.
Does he ever go, yo, Steph, what's good? What kind of dogs we chilling with today?
I'd probably lose it if he ever like turn
Imagine
around
if he does that one day.
That
Like,
would
yo,
be
what up,
crazy.
yo?
I'd be like, okay, is this like Dr. Doolittle? What's going on?
Describe your dream dog, aside from what Coda is. Describe what you think would be the dream dog for you, aside from them living forever.
Coda is my dream
Here we
dog.
go. I knew it.
He is.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really into dogs, but when I look at your dog, I'm like, that's a fire looking dog.
He is so beautiful. It is crazy.
Just the coat, the color of his eyes,
I know.
the way he lays down in front of the front door that he doesn't want to let anyone in. What a great
Your
dog.
least favorite part.
I'm like, yo, I got to go out the door. I'm like, John's like,
He's
yeah,
right
just
there.
move him out.
He'll move. He'll literally move. He will. You don't have to worry about him. But no, he really is. He's my dream dog. He's great. Like I said, I got him at a time in my life where I didn't expect to get a dog. I was also living somewhere where I probably shouldn't have gotten a dog. And he's become like the light of my life. He grounded me, honestly, when I really needed it. So he is my dream dog. One that I just never, you say it when you're younger, like, oh, I dreamed this dog. I could have never dreamt him. He's perfect. I love him. He's a great dog.
Conversely, what do you think is a nightmare dog? Have you ever experienced a nightmare dog? And what would that look like if you didn't experience it for yourself?
Nightmare dog. I've walked a couple nightmare dogs.
You were like, just like at 2:00 before I met you, I had a nightmare dog. No.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes that happens, You get people who just didn't take the time that they needed with their dogs to train them. I think when dogs are not trained and they're on a leash and they're ripping all over the place and you can't even get their attention. That's like pretty chaotic for me. Or dogs that are aggressive. I've come to a house and I go to take the dog out of the crate and they're like lunging at me. I'm like, oh my God, And I try and do the nicest things that I possibly can when I enter a home. If you come at a dog like face to face, they almost take that as a threat. So I usually come like sideways where I'm not really looking at them. If your back's turned, they take you as less of a threat if your back is turned.
See, I wish I
knew that.
I wish I knew that 3 days ago because I went to my friend Tommy's house. Shout out to Tommy. He's one of my referee buddies. And his dog was like, "Ah," and I was like, bro, you were my best friend last time I was here. And I went right to him. I was like, all right, I'll just pet you. And he just bit my leg.
Oh my
And everyone's
goodness.
like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I don't care about that.
My thing, and I love dogs, so it's hard for me to do this, is that when I first meet, I ignore them. I just ignore them.
See, I wish
I
we did
just
that
let
podcast
them-
before this. God damn
You
it.
gotta let them come to you.
Okay, I'll know that next time. So maybe, hopefully, that dog doesn't bite me next time. So I think a lot of people would want to know, especially that work with you, what kind of food do you feed your dog?
I feed him Purina Sport Blend, which is
Sport Blend.
Yeah.
Is this good for me
Keeps
too?
them lean and mean, let me
Okay.
tell you. It's grain free. It's more protein than anything, and he loves it. He was such a picky little. That was the one thing that I probably would say did not like about Coda. He was so picky. Like, I was like, this dog is probably training me because I have like 10 bags of different types of dog food in the house because he just wouldn't eat anything. He would protest his food. And God forbid you gave him something off the table. He wouldn't eat for 3 days until you gave it to him again. And at that point, you're like, I just want him to eat. You're giving him chicken. I'm like, oh, I'm the worst.
Yeah.
I'm the worst.
And I want to apologize for Mason. I know over the summer he fed him something, and then John was like, "Yeah,
a cookie.
my bad."
Cookie, no, it's okay. If it was a chocolate chip cookie, that's why.
I mean, Mason was like, "Get involved."
I know, but you know what? Little kids don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't know. So it's important. And that's why I said next time if he came over, just eat at the table, or if you have something, don't carry it around because Coda's really good. He won't do it to me or you, but when he knows there's a kid in the
Oh, he's
house,
like, this guy doesn't know nothing.
yeah, he's like, I'll just take this out of your
This
hand.
little person knows nothing. Give me that cookie now.
Basically.
Interesting. What is the best time of day for your dog?
Oh, the best time of day for him is, I guess, the morning is the best time because that's just like how our routine's mapped out. I get up around like 5 or 6 a.m. I let him out in the backyard. I feed my cats. I make some coffee, and then we start our day. And he just knows it. Like he runs to the front door. He waits for me to leash him up. We get to the car, and he sits in his spot, and he waits. And he's like, "All right, we're going for the day."
Dang, he's ready to go, huh?
Yeah, he is. He's like awesome.
Mm.
He's awesome like that. He really is. He's ready to go. He wants to go do his thing, and he loves it. And I couldn't ask for a better dog because he's just ready to go and have fun. And I love it because I get to bring him everywhere. I don't have to keep him home. He's not lonely. He's out every single day with me. So the mornings are the best. And then come nighttime, he's just so wiped out that he's sleeping. And then like me or John can watch a movie or.
No pun intended. I know there has to be one pet peeve that you have with your dog. I'll just say for myself, I don't know if I was more annoyed that my parents would always get like a Persian rug or my dog's peeing on that Persian rug because no one was winning. My dad wanted to make it a really nice, but then he didn't want to train the dog and get mad at me like, you should train the dog, Ralph. You are home all the time.
I guess he thought because you were younger that you'd want to take more of an initiative.
He said, Anak, you should have more responsibility in your life. You should take care of this dog. I'm like, and I would go, I ain't buy the dog. That's your dog.
He bought the dog for you.
And for real, I got deep regret that I would treat that because I think like I said, I had so much deep resentment of losing my dog early on. But if you could pinpoint one pet peeve that you have of your dog, what do you think it would be? What's the worst thing about owning a dog?
About owning a dog or Coda. I guess.
He might hear this, so just be careful what you say. He might hear this while you guys are in the car.
There are times, as humans, we get sick. And so when you get sick and your dog's like, I still want to walk, that might be, that's not really a pet peeve though. I guess his constant licking in the morning when I'm still sleeping, because we get up early and then all of a sudden he just starts like grooming himself and I hear it for like an hour and I'm like, shut up. Why do you keep doing that? I threw a pillow off the bed the other day. I was like, could you quit it? What are you licking? What are you licking?
I figured out the course that you should make. You should make Rosetta Stone for dogs.
Oh,
that way they could
communicate with us
maybe learn how to.
instead of through body language. Okay, wait. But my question for you is,
Here we go.
do you think you're ever going to get another dog?
I don't know. Maybe if I'm co-hosting this podcast and hearing other people talk about dogs, and then, hey, I guess Ida's going to hear this one day, and she's like, "See, I know you want a
Well,
dog."
see, does Ida want a dog?
They all have told me. I've just said
want
no.
a dog.
I just said no.
Oh,
I'm like, bro, I got 2 kids.
Mason and Hannah. Yeah, I know, but they're a little bit older now, you know.
I
But
don't
you
know.
do have to realize it's going to be you walking the dog. I
Yeah.
walking the dog.
See, Hannah already, even last night, she's like, "Don't flush my pee-pee." And I went, okay, so if I have a dog and then they pee-pee, then he's going to like, "Don't flush the pee-pee of the dog." Like, because she's already a referee. See, I don't think my son's going to be a referee. I think Hannah's definitely going to be like an NBA referee, the way she, treats it. But yeah, maybe one day I'm kind of open to it. Listen, like I said, it's really hard for your passion of dogs to not rub off other people. It's just, that's what it is.
I feel like you're probably going to get a dog in
Yeah,
the near
we'll
future.
see.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what,
I think
I'm-
when Mason comes over, I'm going to start being like, Mason, you should really, start pestering your dad about
Yeah, well,
getting a
listen.
dog."
The other day he was like, "Oh, we got the new mobile truck for the podcast. We need an L-shaped couch here. We need a 50-inch screen here, and
Look at him.
you need to pre-order PS5." And like this, and I was like, "This guy." So I'm pretty sure if he knows,
He's all about the tech stuff, huh?
well, he's definitely all about like just being an opportunist of like everything that's happening. So if you start giving him a little rumblings
He
of
might be a-
dogs,
do you know what kind of dog they would want?
I'm
Have
sure
they
he
ever
can-
mentioned it?
yeah, they all have ganged up on me. Like, yeah, we want a dog. We want a dog. I was like, nope. Let me tell you about the story of Bobby, and then Ida would say like, "You can't be
Way
a,
to be depressing.
you can't
to
be a
the
prisoner of
kids.
your past." And I'm like, "Too bad, I'm still in jail."
Oh
So,
my goodness.
but I don't know. We'll
Okay, but if you got a dog, let's say hypothetically
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
speaking, if the day comes and you're gonna get a dog, and the kids are really undecided on what kind of dog they want, but you're gonna make the decision. What kind of dog would you get?
I want whatever the husky. I like
You
the
like the
husky. I
husky?
mean, yeah, I like.
They're great family dogs.
You peeped the husky, right?
Well, I want to be honest that I think that's a German Shepherd.
God damn it! It looked
think-
like a husky.
I think it's a German Shepherd.
All right. Well, it looks kind of similar.
It does. So I didn't really say anything because I was like, I like the German Shepherds
Yeah. Well,
too.
yeah.
Great dogs. Those are really good dogs too.
I
Very
got bit by a
popular.
German Shepherd when I
Did
was a
you?
kid too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I got bit by a husky. Wonder why I got him.
Did you?
I did. The only dog to ever bite me.
See, and that's how I know you're special, because most of those traumatic experiences, especially when you get bitten like that, it makes you feel like, nah, I don't want. I don't
I
want
think
to go.
I took it on as a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, oh, a husky bit me? I'm gonna go get one.
Yeah, that's really only my major injury in life. Like I got bit by a dog, and that was the first time I ever heard. And this is like a hot word now. First time I heard vaccine. I got the rabies
Yep,
vaccine after I
uh-huh.
was like, vaccine? What is that? And it was like in 3rd grade.
And the rabies vaccine hurts, by the way.
Yeah,
You
yeah. It's like
remember
those
that?
3 Yeah.
Ooh,
That was
not
super
fun.
pain. My final question to you before we wrap this up: what is your best moment with any dog or anything that happened in Loyalty Walks thus far?
When I'm working with a problem dog
Mm.
and we hit like a pivotal moment of, oh my God, they're like fixed. Like, I don't think any dog is broken. It's just retraining, like teaching them and like building that trust.
Learning to unlearn.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what it is. And I had a dog I was walking a year with. This dog could not be around any other dogs. She was like attacking them. She had a lot of fear aggression. And I told the owner, I said, I'm going to bring Coda. And he was like, are you sure you want to do that? I said, yeah, absolutely. I want to do it. And he's like, you're crazy. He goes, listen, if she bites him, I'm not paying the vet bills. Yeah, well, they walk every day together now.
Here we go.
And
Doesn't that
she
lose-
loves him.
Don't you lose 2 clients because you're just with them? Or you're just like, you know what? I got 14. I'll do 14. That's no problem.
One day I would love to be that person walking like 14 dogs at a time. That's a challenge right
Yeah, I think you will be. And then we'll film Home Alone 6.
there. There you go.
You won't be the cat lady. You'll be the dog lady. But, I appreciate this. I think this is going to be a hit. You tell me. Did you have a good time with the podcast?
I really enjoyed it. Next time I need to be asking you some more questions, though. I think.
Yeah, we'll get there
We'll
through
get there,
time.
yeah.
We'll do.
Well, you're
yeah.
gonna be co-hosting.
Yeah,
with
but
me.
you're
gonna do
you're
this
out of
whole
here.
thing.
I'm just the person that goes like, oh, Mayday, 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 get the backup.
Well, I know. I really did. I enjoyed being here, and thank you for having me. And guys at Geo, thank you for setting it up. It looks awesome here. I really like it.
All right, there's the thumbs up. We're gonna wrap this up for Steph Marth of Loyalty Walks. This is Loyalty Talks, and I'm Ralph. We're out of here. Peace.
Bye.